Welcome back. So POCACOV, the Police Against Cultism and Other Vices, is a national initiative of the Nigerian police force built around preventive policing, community partnership, and early intervention. Its stated mission is to provide alternative pathways for young people vulnerable to cultism, cybercrime, drug abuse, kidnapping, human trafficking, and other organized criminal activities. Its current national coordinator, SP Ikwen, even though she pronounced her name, I'm still so scared of it. PhD was appointed in November 2025 with a mandate aligned with the Nigerian Police Force's broader emphasis on preventative policing, community engagement, and citizen-centered policing. The prevention sounds straightforward until you ask what it actually means on ground. How do you identify someone before they become an offender? How do you intervene without criminalizing young people? And how do you get communities to become part of the security solution? So now we have SP Ikwen, PhD National Coordinator, POCACOV, with us. SP Ikwen.
You're welcome. I don't know why Lolo is scared. Orvenonne.
I know.
Yeah.
She pronounced it just to sound like Orvenonne.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, for Nigerians, like us, just hearing about POCACOV for the first time, what exactly is it and what problem was it created to solve?
Okay, thank you very much for having me here. Police campaign against cultism and other vices, POCACOV, is a non-kinetic initiative of the Nigerian police force. It is basically saying, how do we prevent crime? How can we be proactive to ensure that we reduce crime? I know that crime cannot be totally, reduced, eradicated, yeah. But how do we reduce it? Because sometimes when crimes happen, then it's already too late. And sometimes the damage is already done. So the Nigerian police came up with this initiative to campaign, speak to young people, create awareness, sensitize young people, engage with communities on how we can prevent crime from even happening in the first place.
That's it. So we often measure policing by arrest, prosecutions, and convictions because these are visible outcomes. But preventative policing deals a lot more with something we cannot see, like a crime that's never happened. So how do we now measure success when your biggest achievement may be something that never really got to make the news?
Oh yeah, it can be. It could be very, difficult to actually measure the
success.
The success, but you would see the success after certain behavioral changes. Now we have state coordinators across the 36 states. I am the national coordinator, but we have state coordinators across the 36 states and the FCT. They are police officers as well, and so they are running the campaign simultaneously across all states. Now, when this campaign began, it was normal kinetic approaches we were using, but we began this campaign and we started observing that people are coming to us. We are beginning to build that trust. We're no longer waiting for young people to come to us with complaints. Mm-hmm. We are now going to them. Imagine a police officer going to school to discuss and engage and listen to that young person who sometimes can be vulnerable and decide to share some of his experiences that he might not necessarily want to share with his mom and dad. So that's us seeing that they are beginning to trust us more, to begin to share information. Something happened in Niger State recently. A young boy went for a school intervention in Niger State, and a young boy, during our engagement, we saw him was isolated. And so one of our personnel approached the young boy, and we were just campaigning against crime, cybercrime, every type of crime. And so when we engaged the young boy, you know what he told us? He said, I don't want to tell you what is bothering me. So we took him aside and asked him critically, and then he opened up surprisingly and said yes, that he actually joined a particular, not just cult. He had his friend who had so much money and asked his friend how he got the money. And so the friend said, oh, Iwan Baba gave me a bangle and all of that. It looks like things you see in the movie, but this was real. He couldn't tell his father what was happening to him. Yeah. So the consequences of what he did was that he couldn't cut his fingernails. Yes. And so he couldn't share it with his dad because he didn't know what his dad's reaction was going to be. And so when we intervened, we discussed and we discovered that, yeah, he actually went through with it and he got the wristband, got some money, and couldn't cut his fingernails. And the school were asking him, cut your nails. And each time he cut his nails, he falls sick. Oh. So we had to bring the dad in, inform the dad, and as you speak, he's one of our ambassadors.
How old is this boy?
The boy is 15 years in SS2.
Wow. Wow.
So when we go for interventions, we actually see real life scenarios. Something that you see straight out of the movies.
I know.
And then you see it in real life. So, I mean, if we were not, even as division or stations, we would not have known that. So if we go to the members of the public, we engage with them, and then we begin to build that trust, and they begin to tell us things that normally they won't even, tell their parents.
I'm curious to know, because you just mentioned the 15-year-old. What does, I think when someone goes to a rehabilitation, because I think you would rehabilitate these, I don't know if I should call them victims or what the word is at this point.
I like to call them ambassadors.
The ambassadors. what does the rehabilitation, because if someone gets into something like that, it's not just for you to tell them, take off the bangle or whatever.
Yeah.
What does the rehabilitation look like for them before you brand them as the ambassadors?
Okay, so what we do is that in the long run, we are planning to have like rehab centers where we collaborate with other governmental organizations. But in the process, what we do now currently is that we engage with these young people. We see how we can have clubs. As we speak, we're already going to be implementing clubs in all primary and secondary schools. We do this because we want a platform that can be sustained. We don't just want to just go speak to them and go. We want to build clubs where they can even, speak with the state coordinators, and that relationship can continue. So when you build these clubs, in some states it's already been implemented anyway. When we build these clubs, then you have a safe space to be able to share your experiences, and then we bring people who also mentor and guide them as well.
So what I'm saying is I agree with the clubs, but what does the actual rehabilitation look like?
Okay.
Because, I mean, like you said, if he cuts his fingernails, he gets sick.
Yes.
So what does the undoing of that look like?
Okay, the process is basically speaking to the child. He has to go through a process of rebranding. It is not easy for that young boy who has gone through that traumatic experience
To come back from that?
I mean, so we have to go through a journey of bringing professionals in that field. So we do a lot of collaborations with different areas, non-governmental and development partners as well. So when we identify such, we already have partners who are, key players in certain areas. So we identify those partners who are peculiar to those situations and bring them through the process.
Do you take, like maybe you're talking about maybe mental rehabilitation for them and religious as well? Because if he's in the north, he might need some religious reorientation also.
Oh, so this happened in Niger State, so it's pretty much in North Central. We do a lot of collaboration with religious leaders,
Okay, yes, that's
traditional
what I wanted.
rulers as well.
I know where she was going.
That's right.
All right, we'll be going for a quick break now, but the important question is, who simply committed, isn't simply who committed the crime. It is also what happened before the crime. Who influenced that person and what made them vulnerable? And that is where the opportunity, and where was the opportunity for intervention. So after the break, we'll be looking at the role of parents, schools, communities, and young people themselves in this discuss. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're watching Jasiri. And so, if crime prevention is going to work, the police cannot possibly do it alone. A police officer cannot be in every home, every classroom, every street corner, or every online space where young people interact. And that means prevention has to be shared responsibility. But what does that responsibility actually look like? SP Ikwen, let me bring this closer to the family. What are the early warning signs that parents should never dismiss when they suspect that the child is being drawn or lured towards cultism, drug abuse, or other dangerous things that peer pressure introduces them to? Okay,
before I answer that, I would like to state here that the IGP, Olatunji Wandisu, PSC Daga NPM, is very passionate about community policing and, speaking to parents. When he was AC, there was a video that was trending of him, even as RS commander in Lagos, speaking to young children about cultism. It's something he has done way back, even as an assistant commissioner of police. And so when he became IGP, he insisted and directed that POCACOV is being implemented across all states. And so us taking this to the states is like taking it to the grassroots. So we understand that charity begins at home. Yeah. We understand that parents cannot, leave their kids and just face only their jobs. If the child first sees his mother and his father before he goes out on the streets.
Yes.
So the role of fathers and mothers cannot be overemphasized. So the early warning signs could be even your child, sudden change of behavior, keeping bad friends. And because, the way the world is now, the economic situation, everybody wants to hustle and hustle. But we always remind parents, that's why we have programs where we also dialogue with parents and engage with them to remind them that, look, in the midst of doing all of these activities and, achieving your dreams, you should ensure that you leave a legacy behind. And how do you do this? You have to pay attention, close attention to who your child is keeping as a friend. Who is he speaking with? Is he keeping late night? Is he skipping schools? So these are all of the signs. And we had a serious intervention in Enugu State. I would say this proudly because a father came to one of our state coordinators in Enugu and he had observed that his child was keeping late night. Oh. And so he came to the state coordinator and told him, I observed my child is keeping late night and I don't understand his movement.
How old was the child? Do you know?
The child is about 19 years.
Okay.
And so what we did was to call the child and we spoke to him. And when we did that, we had like a reunion. So it wasn't like the traditional process of policing where it's conventional. It was a different approach and it was really beautiful to have the police speak to the child and say, look, there are certain behaviors that you shouldn't go into because there are consequences. And so the father was happy and pleased. And so we also call out to parents to also reach out to us when they have certain challenges whatsoever. We do not pray for it, but the POCACOV is always there to,
Now, you've actually talked, about a lot of young adults, but sometimes parents get to discover, the problem only after it is very, very serious and probably, they've become really mature. That's the children. Now, if a parent discovers that their child is already involved, what should they do first and what should they absolutely not do?
Okay. We have to, it still brings us back to ensuring that we observe certain, behaviors, pay close attention. And so what we do is, when you see your child behaving the way he doesn't usually behave, you should first of all have that awareness. You should be aware that this is happening. And you should be able to talk to your child. You should be able to look at the factors that could make that child to behave the way he's behaving. It could be friends. The peer pressure, it's really, it's something that we cannot, rule out completely. You're talking about the internet, what we have on the digital space. There are a lot of videos out there and a lot of role models that these people pick up on the internet. So you have to always guide that child. And as Africans, we know that it's not only parents that raises kids, the whole entire community. So this is also calling out on all community members that security is a shared responsibility. It's not only for that father and mother alone. You see a child who is not behaving properly, you should be able to speak to that child as well.
One of the places that you are going that is very important are schools, because that's another critical point of intervention. And POCACOV has carried out school-based sensitization, mentorship and value reorientation. I like that, programs across maybe several states. But what happens after the police leave the school? I know you have said you're going to have clubs. Or how do you make sure that the intervention continues beyond that one-day sensitization programs? What should schools do beyond sensitization programs? Because after you leave and they create the club,
yes,
what happens?
Yes.
Are you going to train maybe the club leadership to know, is there going to be time that you guys go from time to time to retrain and look over what they're doing?
Okay, so the way POCACOV works is we work with members of the public. How we do is this. Now we have state coordinators who are police officers. We also have state chairmen who are members of the public who are volunteering to partner with POCACOV. So it's a whole team. It's like 50% police, 50% members of the public. And so what we do is that when we go to schools, like I said, some clubs are already implemented in certain states. And this is because we saw the need to sustain it. We train these ambassadors in those clubs, and there's a sustained system. Of course, you have the headmistress, you have the proprietors, and the head of school. And so we sustain through that administration. So when we have the selected few which we have picked, they become our eyes and ears. They become our mini police officers there. Because in schools we have the issue of bullying. And sometimes these are things that we do not really talk about. But in certain climates, we've seen that even bullying has led people to suicide. You know, there was a video that was trending online in a particular school in Edo State. I don't know if you saw it. A young boy was being bullied. And when we discovered that that young boy that was bullied had just lost his dad. So imagine that he's at home, he has lost his dad, he comes to school where he's supposed to have peace and like find a purpose, and he's being bullied in school. So we understand that these things begin, and that child who is bullied could one day decide to say, okay, you know what, I need to belong somewhere. So it starts from that very, early stage. So we understand the importance of catching them young. We understand the importance of, early intervention. Because sometimes when you have interactions with people who have actually been incarcerated, they'll tell you they wish they knew better.
Okay, so, let's talk about trust. How do you foster trust? Because the police has a very complicated relationship with young people. Even, I don't want to go there because everybody keeps saying that, I'm one of those who, I'm very vocal about, police behavior on the streets. So how do we convince young people that the police can actually be your friend, literally, and can be a partner in protecting their future?
That's exactly what POCACOV mandate is, trying to bridge that gap between the members of the public and the police. We now understand that we're no longer working for the community, we're working with the community. We understand that young people are critical partners in community structure and national security. So what we do is that we bring them to lend their voice. We discuss, we have a roundtable discussion. We listen to them. How do we make this better? So like I said, POCACOV constitute members of the police and members of the public. On Saturday, we had a walk against electoral violence in Osun State in preparation of the gubernatorial election coming up on August 15th. That work was organized by POCACOV and National Association of Nigerian Students. So when we were walking the streets, it was interesting to see that police officers were walking on the streets with students, members of the community. We had the National Youth Service Corps, everybody working with police officers. We were working and creating awareness, talking about ensuring that youth do not go into crime, do not fight, they should vote, not fight, they should protect their vote. So imagine having that relationship, speaking together and learning the same voice. It already brings them as partners. And so that's how we build the trust.
And now I think we kind of see that POCACOV is priding itself on partnerships, and we see that it has engaged the EFCC and the NDLEA as well around issues such as internet fraud and drug abuse, with an emphasis on intelligence sharing, sensitization, and education, but also rehabilitation. What does the collaboration look like beyond meetings and statements? And how does this translate into prevention on the ground?
Okay, so we understand that it has to be a collaborative effort with all other relevant organizations. And as we speak, it has already been implemented across states. For NDLEA, for instance, we have the state coordinators who are already collaborating with NDLEA across all states, and same with EFCC, particularly for such crimes that are peculiar to those relevant agencies. For instance, if the issue of drug abuse, we just don't do drug abuse cases without even collaborating with NDLEA. I'll give you an instance. There was a young boy who was into drugs, and NDLEA had told us about the matter. So when we were having the discussion with the young boy together, we discovered that the young boy had taking the drugs because of, the struggles he was having at home. During the conversation, together, of course, NDLEA and the police, the boy told us that he actually went into drugs because his parents were separated. And so his condition was, I'm going to stop doing drugs if my dad and my mom comes back together. So this is one of our outreaches that we have actually done together that, yielded positive results.
Is it that easy?
Yeah,
like when you're deep into, drugs? Because I don't know. He's just saying that he believes it.
There are a lot of factors. The issue of drug might look the way it looks, but there could be a lot of factors that could drive it. So sometimes you have to look behind the scene. What's driving this? How can I resolve it? And when you resolve it, everything falls in line.
Okay, so let's look at challenges to POCACOV's effectiveness so far. Resources, manpower coordination, community cooperation, follow through, or something else. What's the biggest challenge POCACOV has gone through so far?
Oh yeah, it's the issue of trust. People are still trying to understand, is POCACOV really here for us? Are we really here to partner with us? That's just one of the challenges that we are having. But nothing comes without challenges. So we look at it as one of those things that we also have to walk through together.
I'm curious to know, I think I'm seeing a bit of a trend in law enforcement lately, especially in Nigeria. When you look at the rehabilitation, punishment, and perhaps sentencing of an individual, there's a difference between a drug user and a drug supplier. Now, looking at what you guys are doing at POCACOV, how do you navigate the two? And what does rehabilitation or punishment look like within these two peripherals?
Okay, so for us particularly, we focus on ensuring that we do not even have people going to the drug in the first place. Okay. And it's not just for young people. I mean, you even have people at 40 even begin to take drugs.
Yeah.
Yes, for the first time, for several reasons, because they want to belong somewhere. So we always have to remember that POCACOV is complementing the effort of the kinetic approach that already exists. Yeah. There are laws that guide against, certain issues. And so we're just complementing the effort. We're not saying that those traditional efforts are not enough or they're not existing. But we are complementing, ensuring that we see how we can, reduce it and take people out of it. Yeah. And so those laws are actually static. I mean, they already have their rules that they are playing. But for POCACOV, it's basically ensuring that we do not have people even go to it in the first place. We also do community partnership and building trust. So we also, by doing that, we have people report to us certain issues. Let's say you have people who are supplying drugs in your area, and you trust us enough. I mean, they have their phone numbers when we go to them. So sometimes they're even more comfortable telling us things than going to the police to report.
Right.
So when they speak to us, then they even give us information in terms of things that are going on. They trust us enough to be able to
SP Orvenonne Ikwen, I really wish we had more time to speak on this, but maybe we'll bring you back, on this table so we can, explore this further. But thank you so much for, joining us and also for helping us look beyond the arrest numbers and into the much bigger question of prevention. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And when we talk about cultism, drugs, vandalism, and other social vices, the conversation cannot begin only after someone has committed a crime. It has to begin much earlier, in the home, in schools, in communities, and even online, because a safer society is not created only by catching more offenders. It is also created by identifying vulnerability early, giving young people alternatives, empowering communities to speak up, and also making sure that those who profit from criminal activity are not left outside the conversation. So thank you so much once again. And
I just want to say that the CP Lagos State Command, CP Tijani Fatai, is doing a lot in terms of community engagement as well. So I just want to add that. You can reach out to us too.
All right, fantastic.
In Lagos.
All right, thank you so much for staying tuned. We will be here again tomorrow, same time, same station.